In case you have seen the review of the HG579, this thing is still here. But fortunately enough, the rest of the HG500 series is as well, which I started off with the 559, moved further along to the 569 and continued on with the 579. And today it's finally time for the 599, which is the highest end version, at least before we go into 600 territory. And once again, a big thanks to Cyberport for making all of this possible. And I would say once again, it's time to check what we get in the box, which here once again would be the headphone, and once again it would be this 3-meter long cable with the 1/4 inch at one end. And if I'm not mistaken, you also get the adapter here if you want to use it with 3.5mm jacks as well. And then once again the interchangeable end, just put it in, twist it and lock it, and then it would be that. But same as already, or at least similar to the 569, we get a 3.5mm cable, 1.3 meters long, but it has no line-in microphone, so it's just a plain standard one, but that is absolutely fine. Quality of both is absolutely fine. And if we check the design, let's compare it with the 579, as you can see, it's all pretty much the same. And this time, same as already on the 579, the cushioning here is a little bit thinner compared to something like the 569s, and it's not quite as soft. And the comfort is quite similar, even though it is a little bit softer here compared to the 579. So it is noticeable, but maybe not without the direct side-by-side comparison. Of course, the color is a little bit of a personal thing, because I definitely like the gray over this a little bit kind of beige and brown design, but it still works out fine, not a real problem. The ear cup similar to the 579, not super soft compared to the 569, not a memory foam, but still nice soft velour. Ear cups are big enough, and we once again have this thing sticking out, but when we come to the comfort and put them on, it is kind of in between. At least it is a little bit better compared to the 579, which was my least favorite when it comes to the comfort. But as I said already there, this is complaining on a very high level. Compared to anything else, this is still very, very good. Just not as good as the quite amazing 569, which are one of the most comfortable ones that I've ever had. But once again, you will notice the headband, not quite as much as on the 579, but still it will be noticed. Same as well as on the 579. The pressure on the side is definitely not too high, even though the ear cups or the cushionings are a little bit harder compared to something maybe different like a leather ear cup or so. And since it is an open back headphone, the noise isolation towards the outside, also due to the velour, isn't all that big, because I hear my voice pretty much the same, and it is open back after all, and people will notice you outside a little bit more. But once again, the fit is very good. They don't really wiggle. They sit absolutely as they should, comfortable, and they don't fall off. So all is good covered here, and it still is very comfortable, even though I would just say good comfort compared to all of the rest, especially the 569. But at least it beats the 579, but just by a little bit. In terms of the sound, I already a little bit did it off a teaser in terms of the 579 when we come to the sound. I said that I personally prefer the sound of the 579 a little bit more, because it was a little bit warmer, a little bit more sounded. I wouldn't really call the 599 neutral or flat. They still are ever so slightly sounded, but I would call them a little bit more neutral, a little bit more audiophile if you want a flat sound, because the bass is quite tight and punchy, but not as warm and not quite as tight as on the slightly more dominant bass, just ever so slightly, but really ever so slightly. And I needed a long time for a side comparison to actually hear those differences. Not all that dominant, but still punchy, nice, and then, but it's definitely not an extreme bass. Sennheiser is just not known for that. Still a highly enjoyable bass. The mids ever so slightly colder compared to the 579, but not as cold as on the 569. So don't get me wrong, when I called the 569 cold, I won't call this cold. I would call them quite neutral, where on the 579 I would call them warm. The highs though very, very similar. Also a little bit harsh for a few people, and very, very open, clear. The soundstage is a little bit open, a little bit more clear, and the overall clarity is just a little bit on a higher level. Vocals just sound a little bit more upfront, a little bit more towards you, and a little bit more outside of the music, but still an amazing balance. And like I said, it is not neutral, but it is more neutral than the 579, and a really nice balance overall. It comes down to what you prefer. If you want a slightly more sounded headphone, the 579 are your choice. If you want something a little bit more neutral, audiophile, then I would go for these. But all of this and more will of course be covered in my big comparison, and that's why I want to go to the pros and cons here already. Once again, and it is very similar to the 579, because after all they are very similar to those. Good comfort, very good fit, still very good on a high level, just good compared to the rest. Minimal clean design, interchangeable cables, still all great things. Great soundstage. It is noticeably, but just in a direct comparison, better towards the 579. Great sounding, precise and tight bass, not as warm though. Very solid mids, dominant highs, fantastic clarity. It was still a little bit better. Great all-rounder and very suited for audiophiles, at least in my opinion. Towards the negative sides, we have the also as well noticeable headband. It is still just not as comfortable as these ones. I just can't stress this enough how comfortable these ones are. Needs a little bit more power. After all, 50 ohms instead of I think 23 or 27 on the 569. Slightly harsh highs. Maybe for a few people that are just not used to that, because compared to a mainstream headphone, they are way more dominant. And then price is still a little bit high, which is actually my kind of gripe here, because these are $250 where you pay $200 for the 579, and this is $50 more for like 5% difference for a little bit more audiophile neutrality. If that's worth for you, I don't know. Of course, you also get the cable along with that, which is included in the 579, and it's still worth the price. But there is also, of course, the predecessor that I just have to mention this time, even though I don't know it, the 598, which is a very highly, commonly popular headphones, and a lot of people like it. And these days you can get that one for around 100. I saw it on deals these days, and therefore it should definitely be considered. Of course, since it's brand new, the price is still able to drop, but as for now, it is still a little bit too high. And I don't want to stress this all that much, because I want to get into all of this and way more into the comparison for now. But I get it, you feel it. It is a great headphone, but personally I would prefer the 579 just in terms of value. And if you want the most versatile one, maybe even the 569. But I will get into all of that. So watch the comparison in case you didn't already. And if you wanted, or if you liked this video, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Once again, a big thanks to Cyberport, because otherwise I would not know how one of these sounds anytime soon. And that's why I want to leave it like that, and wish you a nice day. Until next time, bye.